And I mean, we've got treason. We got treason to talk about. Holy smokeronis, do we have treason to talk about? Name them is trending, which is interesting. People are starting to question the whole treason thing that came to light, a year ago, March, with China interfering in our elections, and then the year-long dog and pony show that didn't result in anything at all untoward. The government is fine. Everybody's fine. Everybody's in their same jobs. Didn't you hear about bird flu? Theresa Tam's telling you about it, right? Like, we're supposed to pretend that everything's just fine when it's anything but fine. The RCMP seem out of the loop on the information. The most important question after who are these people in our government? I think it's probably major cabinet ministers, etc. Trudeau, Mendocino, all of them, like Chrystia Freeland, all of them. I bet it's very high-placed ones. Why aren't they under arrest? Who are they? Those are the two main questions that I've got. But after that, if these people are in government and say an election gets triggered tomorrow, we're going to have people who are being supported by Chinese dark money, a whole Chinese network that hasn't been fleshed out, that hasn't been sorted out, that we don't know anything about anything. The conservatives, the liberals, we don't know anything about anything. So it's very, very interesting to me how all of this is playing out. And I think that, the Canadian public are losing out on this. We need a government that is working for us and not for a foreign country, right? Especially China or something to that effect. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We are getting to talk about treason. Lots and lots of treason. Gov.exe is corrupt, says, I can't wait to hear Justin Trudeau explain himself about how his government refuses to release the names of the MPs who conspired with foreign actors in question period today. Oh, wait, he left for France like the coward he is. Watch him test positive for bird flu. I can't wait till the bird flu tests go hot, and we're going to talk about that because they're definitely trying. Tim Cast was talking about it yesterday. Globe Politics is reporting Chrystia Freeland vows a review into alleged collusion with foreign actors by MPs. Didn't we have that? The Rouleau report, the Hague report, not the Rouleau report, Johnston, right? Johnston was tasked with being the rapporteur, and then everybody said he's very conflicted. Didn't he open those Confucius centers? And then Justin Trudeau said, oh, yeah. But they wasted like an entire summer, 6 months on that, right? And Johnston billed like $4 million, like a ridiculous amount of money. And then gone, right? And nothing. And then all of a sudden we did these two in Hague, right? We didn't find anything really bad. We found that the Conservatives have input from India. Shocker, right? But it's very, very interesting because they didn't find anything either. Nothing that they could report to Canadians, right? Oh, it's national security issues. Sure. Bullshit, right? The government, the sitting government that's being accused of treason right now, they can't investigate themselves. They can't do that. That's not something that's acceptable. That should not be acceptable, right? That's like finding an employee, finding their till light by, I don't know, $400 or something like that at the end of the day. And then you asking them to put together a report for why the till was light. Like, investigate that for me, right? And then, like, no, they're not. You're not going to get to the bottom of it by doing it that way, right? Twig says they cannot review anything that they're allegedly directly involved in. What we're talking about here is treason. This has serious consequences if found guilty. We have every right to know who they are so we don't unwittingly vote for them. Why are they not charged, fired, and jailed? Why not? Why not? Like, seriously, why not? Petrified COVID parent says, why is name them trending? He knows. Chrystia Freeland was trying to take a victory lap. Here's another little bit of color here. So she's speaking all in French. Mackenzie Gray says finance minister Freeland came to the mic to take a victory lap on the interest rate cut, but walked away from reporters when questions started coming about the NSICOP report. She plans to walk away. She is like, thank you very much, bye. And she runs. She's gone. It's like, in the old cartoons when the character would run out of the scene and you'd see like their shadow in white, like dust, because they've gone so quickly, right? That's kind of what's happening here with Chrystia Freeland. So she's finishing her little French speech, and she's like, yay, rah, rah, sis, bim, bah. And then the reporters are chomping at the bit to get the questions out, and she runs away. And then you can watch the screen right after and you see the reporters chasing her and the recording's still going, right? So they're trying to get the answers. A little bit, I guess, right? Here we go. I guess when full-blown treason blows up in all of the reporters' faces and you're caught with your pants down, not even reporting a whiff of it, yeah, you're going to try and get some answers, maybe, to look kind of half credible. Right, here's Chrystia Freeland.
Merci beaucoup. Ms. Freeland, can you please answer on the foreign interference on the review? Why is there no review? Ms.
And they've officially said, like, our official position on this is we're not going to tell you anything. So stop asking, right? That's racist. I've got some ideas, right? I've got some indication. Do you remember when Francois Philippe Champagne had to repay a Chinese mortgage lender because he had like hundreds of thousands of dollars in Chinese mortgages? That's weird. Do you remember that? I remember that. So it's kind of rich saying, oh yeah, well, we'll see what the RCMP says. I don't believe these people. I don't trust these people. I think that these people are liars. I think that these people are probably neck deep in whatever dirty dealings are being reported week to week. I think that these people are driving it, and they know they're untouchable at this point. They're running the government. They used the War Measures Act against peaceful protesters, and they won't do a damn thing against violent protesters like the Black Lives Matter rioters or the currently pro-Palestinian protesters or whatever. Here's just a little bit of this video. It's not really worthwhile, but this is the kind of response all of these people are giving, and it's a bullshit dodge because I'm just a regular schmo. I'm just a regular guy in my garage, and I don't want my government being treasonous. He's an MP. He could do something about it, and he's like, oh, well, it's not really our place. Are you kidding me? It's not your place? It is definitely your place. Like, all of the bank accounts, they should all be under arrest. They should all be thrown in jail. Every single one of them. And all of their bank accounts should be frozen. All of them. And their wives and family members, et cetera, Hunter Biden style type deal, to make sure that any impropriety is not being routed through family members, and maybe have a public searchable database. There is no reason that we should take any of these people's word for any of the things that they're saying. They're liars. They're known liars. Marco Mendicino is allergic to the truth, and I think that malady has spread to the rest of the caucus. It's ridiculous. Here is Champagne bullshit dodging. Here we go.
So what needs to happen if you've got MPs working with foreign governments? What needs to happen?
Well, like I said, it's very concerning, and that's why I say the committee should be making recommendation about what are the steps. I think in a democracy, people need to have confidence that everyone here is acting in the best interest of the nation, in this case Canada. I would say also this is not a uniquely Canadian issue, as you may, I remember when I was at Bletchley Park with former Prime Minister Sunak of the UK, we were looking, for example, at AI, and one of the concern was that there's about 4 billion people who are going to be having election this year, 50 election around the world, and the whole issue around disinformation, deepfake, and I would say more generally that people
Chinese interference in our elections is not misinformation and disinformation. This is a pivot. Okay, so he is not talking anymore about Chinese interference. He's not talking anymore about the treason that he was asked about. He's pivoting to talk about AI and misinformation and disinformation, which is a bullshit dodge. Okay, bullshit. These people are liars, and they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt. In order to prove any of the things that they've said, they need to open up actual evidence. They need to, prove I'm not accepting bribes from anybody. Here's my bank account. Check it out, and open it up to a forensic accountant who will greenlight it or not. Or, I love the idea of a public searchable database. They froze without trial or conviction innocent people's bank accounts because they donated to the truckers, and that information they utilized from a hack. And now we're being told, as Canadians, some parliamentarians are treasonous, and we're being told by the Liberals, we'll figure it out. Nope, not enough. Throw the bums in jail. Throw every single one of them in jail until they can prove that they're not Chinese stooges. And then maybe we'll talk. But until then, benefit of the doubt? How about no? How about I remember the lockdowns? I remember the lies? No. Kian says, how much do you want to bet that MPs who conspired with a foreign government to betray Canada are immigrants from that very nation? When I am shown to be right, it should be made illegal for a foreign-born individual to sit in government. I don't know. If you've got Chinese loans, I think you're a prime suspect for this whole thing. CPAC is showing another, this is the NSICOP chair talking about this. 139 will play as much as makes sense.
Bound by the rules, you can't release any more information, including the names of the RCMP involved? Under what circumstances could those names be revealed, and does the public not deserve to know?
The members of the committee are bound to the Security of Information Act for the rest of their lives.
So the names will never come out?
Okay, listen. The question of whether or not this issue is followed up on is a question rightly put to the RCMP. And it is up to the RCMP to decide on the basis of any intelligence or evidence they may have in their possession, whether they're going to take steps or not. I'm not in a position to comment.
Did he call the RCMP? Like, I don't have the name. I'll call the RCMP. Hi, it seems like we've got a bunch of Chinese spies in our government. Can you go investigate that? But like the last time we had the RCMP investigate, we had a guy who was paid by the RCMP. He had RCMP uniforms in a cruiser, and he was using RCMP guns. Maybe not. Maybe he had his own guns. But it doesn't seem like the RCMP are the right vehicle to check and see if things are above board. It seems like the RCMP is as compromised as everybody else. So that's great that the chair of NSICOP doesn't want to betray the vow he took for the rest of his life. But at this point in time, I don't think that I have actionable evidence. And who would I like? The RCMP? The RCMP is going to say, "Thanks, buddy." Click. So this is not a viable plan to solve the treason that's happening in our government. But it doesn't seem like there is a plan, right? CPAC says it's up to the RCMP, so we just watched that. The Buck You Will says, Stephen Galbo, Chinese meddling. Green Jesus is sweating bullets right now. Aside from being the Minister of Climate Lies, he's the Executive Vice Chairman for a Chinese CCI CED. So I was talking about this the other day, but this is the environmental, this is the Chinese group that he's the VP on, right? He's one of the main people who, executive vice chairman, excuse me. He's one of the main people who, exchange information with China with regards to all of this stuff. And is that Chinese meddling? Is that Chinese foreign interference, right? And his excuse is, well, everybody's done it for years and years and years. The Harper government did it. I don't know if Martin or Chrétien, or all the way back to Mulroney. I don't know. I don't know if they had executive vice chairman roles for Chinese CCI CED. It doesn't seem like they would, but maybe, right? Because China was opening up, and we watched all of that happen, and then we sent all of our manufacturing there. So that was weird, right? The 90s were a weird time. But a lot of people at the time were saying it's a conflict of interest. Rebel News was asking him about it, and that was where he responded saying, "Oh yeah, everybody's done it. It's a big thing. We're trying to be cooperative and proactive, and it's a worldwide global issue," which is bullshit. And they're saying inflation is a worldwide global issue, but they printed a crap ton of money and caused inflation. They brought in a whole bunch of immigrants, and that sends strange economic signals, because when immigrants show up, they need to buy a lot of stuff, so it sends false economic signals through the economy, and that also causes inflation, right? Because it and also causes pain, because as the Canadian spending slows down, the immigrants coming in, they have money from home, they have money from the government, and they have to set themselves up. So while they're trying to tamp down inflation, the economy is still sending these false signals, and they say, well, we have to increase the rates, and then they increase the rates to the point where people can't afford their houses. And then this week they lowered the rates, and that's bad. That's bad. It's going to cause more problems. The dollar is devalued, right? And inflation will resume. So Andy Brook says, as a former RCMP officer retired, this is beyond embarrassing. And Mercedes Stevenson says, the RCMP statement on ongoing investigations into foreign interference and whether or not they're investigating parliamentarians, a key point to me was that they didn't have all the info that was in the report until it came out. Highlights below are mine. The NSICOP report is bringing important attention to this matter, and this attention is an important tool in combating foreign interference. With respect to the information contained in the NSICOP report and what the RCMP knew and did not know at the time, the RCMP is part of the national security community and works closely with partners to combat all types of national security threats. Although the RCMP did not receive information regarding all the matters contained in the report, the RCMP was aware of the broad range of work being done by partners. Specific to the 43rd and 44th general elections, the RCMP did not conduct criminal investigations into election-related activities at the time. However, after receiving additional information, the RCMP initiated investigations. the RCMP seem out of the loop and incompetent, right? Like, remember, what was his name? Was it due north? There was an incompetent Mountie, but maybe he wasn't incompetent. Maybe he was just funny. And that whole idea of, because he was riding the horse backwards, right? Was it just supposed to be funny? I thought it's not fair to display, Canadian culture so laissez-faire, right? Like, because the Mounties were hard guys, right? Like, there's some stories of Mounties who did some crazy stuff back in the turn of the century, 1900, as the country was growing up. So it's interesting to have such incompetence now at this level, because I used to be pretty proud of Canada stuff, and now I'm just daily more embarrassed. I'm like, oh man, again we're doing something stupid, and just every day it seems like we're doing something even more stupid. Here's Mercedes Stevenson. Yesterday I was lamenting, where's Bernier, where's Pierre Poilievre talking about this stuff? Nobody said a damn thing. Nobody said anything. And then yesterday, after I said that on my show, Jagmeet Singh, Pierre Poilievre, and Maxime Bernier all put out statements, and they're all kind of milquetoast. They're all kind of the same. But Mercedes Stevenson is also highlighting my lament from yesterday. This is from 2:24 p.m. Yesterday we had a report: sitting parliamentarians are witting or semi-witting participants in foreign interference operations. That's treason, by the way, including divulging secrets to foreign governments. I mean, I don't know if you unwittingly do that. Like, oh, here's the password to my email, and I'll just go on as work as usual, right? Like, maybe unwitting, but at some point you gave them the password. The Liberals shrug when asked if they should name names. The CPC start question period with nary a word about the report. They don't say a damn thing. They didn't say anything about it. Weird. So neither the government party nor the official opposition thinks it's a priority to discuss sitting parliamentarians allegedly helping foreign powers knowingly. First time we heard about it is in question period is the Bloc Québécois, so the party that wants to separate from Canada, is the first one that brings up one of the most explosive allegations we've heard in national security in years. NDP leader Singh starts on foreign interference, saying other parties failing to protect Canada. So they do, I guess, get into it a little bit. Here's Pierre Poilievre talking about it, and he starts off in French. So, being as broad an appeal as possible. Here we go.
Le Comité pour la Sécurité.
Mr. Speaker, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians has indicated that members of this House purposely helped hostile foreign actors. Canadians have a right to know who and what the information was.
Committee indicates there are members of this House that have knowingly worked for foreign hostile governments. Canadians have a right to know who and what is the information. Who are they?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition knows very well that no government, including the government of which he was a member, is going to discuss particularities of intelligence information publicly, so he knows better than that. But the good news, Mr. Speaker, is if he wanted to get the appropriate security clearance and be able to see the confidential report of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, he would be much more informed than he is now, and we would invite him to do so he wouldn't stand up and cast aspersions on the floor of the House of Commons without any information whatsoever.
The information is from the public NSICOP report that talks about treason in the House of Commons, you numpty. Here's Michael Chong, 39 seconds, talking about this kind of stuff as well.
The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, the report reveals that parliamentarians, including members of this House, knowingly and wittingly assisted a hostile foreign state in Parliament and in our elections to the detriment of the people of Canada. This is shocking. And Mr. Speaker, I can't believe the following needs to be said. Parliamentarians' duty is not to a foreign state, but to the people of Canada. Simple question. Will the Prime Minister release the names of these parliamentarians?
Nothing at all should be done in our government until it either falls or we get those names and those people go to prison. But I don't think they're going to release the names, and I think they're going to try and move on. And we're goldfish. We're goldfish. They're going to move on. They're going to move on. They're going to move on. So It's going to be interesting. Maxime Bernier says a parliamentary report reveals that there are clear indicators that we have traitors in our parliament who conspire with foreign countries, in particular China and India, to undermine our democracy. Although their names are being kept secret, we can pretty much guess who they are. Immigrants from China and India who haven't integrated and adopted our values and are more loyal to their country of origin than to Canada. Don't you get it by now? This is what I was warning about in my famous 6 tweets from 6 years ago that were hysterically denounced by the whole media and political establishment. This is what they all continue to ignore. This is what living in a post-national country is about. This is another entirely predictable consequence of Trudeau's policies of mass immigration, radical multiculturalism, and destruction of our national identity. Yep. Here's Jagmeet Singh. He's not going to drop the government, but he's going to use every other thing to get to the bottom of it, he says, which is to say he's not going to get to the bottom of it. Here we go.
The allegation that there are MPs knowingly working for foreign governments to undermine our democracy is deeply serious. That's why I've requested a classified briefing to get more information. But the Prime Minister's known about this since March and has done nothing. And the Conservative leader doesn't even want to know what's going on, has refused this information. Why are these two leaders turning away, looking away from foreign interference when it serves them?
Why is Jagmeet Singh continuing to prop up a government that refuses to tell us who the traitors in our government are? Chris says we need to know the names of all members of parliament in Canada that are compromised by foreign entities. Until we do, they're all suspect, all 338. Yeah, lock them up and let's look at their bank accounts. Are they getting payments from China? Do they own property in China? Like, again, these are people who, without trial or conviction and less evidence than we've got on them, froze bank accounts of people through a hacked database that they got through nefarious means, no less. And they want us to treat them fairly? Oh, we'll treat them fairly. We'll treat them just like they treated us. Wiretap Media says, breaking, former CSIS director Ward Elcock and Richard Fadden believe that the identities of corrupt Canadian politicians accepting cash bribes and sharing classified information with foreign states working to undermine Canadian democracy should be protected from the Canadian taxpayer. Shocker. It's 3.5 minutes. I'm not going to... we'll listen to the first little bit. Okay, here we go.
Specifically, and what went through your mind as you read the list, some of the things that we were just talking about in the intro?
Well, frankly, in contrast to Dick, it really wasn't a surprise for me. I have actually seen this before, and I'm not particularly surprised. It is, in some sense, an inevitable part of an immigrant country like ourselves. We have some of these issues, and we will continue to have some of these issues. The difficulty is that it's easy to say that people have...
What's an immigrant country? The idea of multiculturalism is one thing, but the idea of an immigrant country is a completely different one. And he's saying that we're an immigrant country. I don't think so. CBCNN Live? I haven't seen the CBCNN before. Right there. This idea is a further perversion of our national policy, I guess. And I think we should abolish the idea of multiculturalism because it's clearly failed. But the idea that we're an immigrant country is stupid because those countries like that don't exist. They're not countries.
Been assisting the foreign government. But what does that mean? Does it actually mean they have taken actions which rise to the level of offending a criminal statute?
Yes. They busted in Chinese students to change the leadership, to make sure that their China-friendly candidate, Han Dong, would get elected over a non-China-friendly candidate. Yes, that's illegal. Yes, they should be held accountable for it. Yes, Han Dong should be vacated from that seat. In fact, I think probably the whole government should fall and everything they've done be ruled moot because it's done by treasonous so-and-sos. This guy, it's not even worth listening to because he's casting doubt on the allegations when he doesn't know a damn thing. And in fact, he's probably been instructed to cast doubt on the allegations. Ridiculous. National News Watch says Liberals are blocking access to 1,000+ documents, says Intel Oversight Panel reviewing foreign interference. And Andy Lee quotes from it. 2 days after publishing an alarming report on foreign interference in Canada, an intelligence agency oversight committee says the federal government is trying to avoid disclosing information by inappropriately withholding over 1,000 documents. Crazy town. in Spain, in France, farmers are blocking both sides of the Spanish-French border in protest against their livelihoods being demolished by the EU's climate policies. If you had to choose between living without farmers and living without unelected technocrats, which would you choose? Yeah, these people who are making farming rules have never farmed, and they don't know a damn thing. They haven't even watched Jeremy Clarkson's farm, and I mean, it's very informative. You know what I was thinking about, and I'm going to go off on a little diatribe here, and I don't mean to, but I think it's important. The number of times Clarkson tries something, because he's genuinely trying to farm his land. He's trying to turn a profit. Like, he's rich independently of that, but he's trying genuinely to farm his land and make his farm profitable so that it can justify its existence, basically. Like, you work for me, farm, right? And it's near impossible. Like, his regular crops are being messed with in ways that are difficult through the government to deal with. Like, and I've talked about this before, but the grocery store doesn't pay enough to offset the cost of fuel and the rest, drying, all of that stuff for whatever it is. Or the wholesale market doesn't pay enough for the wheat or whatever it is. The eggs are not paid for to cover the cost of production, so on and so on and so on. So that's one thing. So in order to get around that, Clarkson's doing other things, and the other things that he's trying, like his farm shop, are being blocked by stupid other levels of government, councils and things like that. And so it's nearly impossible to actually run your farm in a profitable way. And Clarkson can absorb these shocks. Like, if somebody says, well, he broke like a 20,000 pound, so $40,000 piece of farm equipment, and people were like, and he went, oh man, that's a bad morning. And like, to you or me, that might put your farm out of business. But for him, he's like, oh well, like, I've got 20,000 pounds. I'll write the check and we'll move on. And like, that kind of stuff will ruin somebody. You know what I'm saying? And so he's rich, and he's highlighting the problems with the policies, and the policymakers, all they want to do is silence them. Right. And so, I mean, I think farmers are the key. I think protesting is, I don't know, because the protest is akin to a battle, and they want to fight. They want a war. They want a civil war. They want to call people terrorists. Look at what they did to Tamara Lich, but they're not doing anything to any so-called leaders of pro-Palestinian protests, right? It's ridiculous. Theo Fleury is responding to this whole treason thing, and he says, Canada is clearly a compromised nation, and our politicians have sold us out to foreign actors. Fly the flags upside down. We're effed. And obviously there is nothing that can be done about it because our justice system looks like it's compromised as well. I don't disagree. Rex Glacier is pointing this out. National News Watch says no answers on if parliamentarians allegedly aiding foreign states can run again. It was just a little bit of money from China. I've already asked my local MP how much money he took from China to win his election, because he's obviously taking money. And if not, prove it. Prove it, because we've got all this evidence here, and it's not like little evidence. It's the national security. It's NSICOP citing national security, like citing CSIS and other intelligence sources that say there have been a bunch of MPs. So in the absence of evidence, you're guilty, bud. Sorry. Sam Cooper says another few paragraphs Canadians need more information on. PRC efforts to collect information on numerous Canadian federal actors, including compromising information. So they're trying to collect information on federal actors who oppose them. And I mean, like, that kind of stuff. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful